Right then, what I'm going to try and do today is to draw a dragon, but it's going to be a card design dragon. I haven't done one of these for a while, and I'm going to be using brush pens, which are these brush pens, Copic. And what you have with these, they're double-ended, so you have a brush at one end and like a chisel wedge end thingy bobber at the other end. Now we should be predominantly using the brush pen end of these. These are quite good, and you can brush and blend these, which is quite a nice thing to be able to do. So, and I should be using the trusty 5-point pen and pencil with the trusty eraser on the end to actually do the outlines. And also with this picture, I should be using a Uniball white rollerball pen as well to do some highlights. Right then, so what we're going to do now, I've already done like a grid, because I find when you're doing these pictures, these designs, these for cards, any card, it's quite nice to put it in its own little frame so you can center it on the actual card. Now with these designs, I've only done it in pencil to start with, because you might well go out of the line slightly with your design, which is fine, because in actual fact it's quite a nice effect. So what we're going to do with this, I'm going to do it quite basically, because I'm going to do it hopefully fairly quickly, just to show you roughly what I would do. Because again, this really, though it's an illustration, it's not really cartoony. It's more how I would imagine a dragon to be. Now, we're going to start off with the focal point, which would be the eye. Now, there's several ways you can do an interpretation of a dragon's eye, but for the sake of it, we're going to put in an eye like that. This will quite possibly alter and change as we go through this process, and it's really up to you how you do. I'm just showing you how I would approach it. And now dragons are fairly well armored against attack or predators. The closest thing, I suppose, we have today that you could actually look at would be something like an armadillo. Now, I'm only really going to do the head and shoulders of this dragon. Because I really am aware that we're going to be a little bit pushed for time, and I want to try and get some sort of design done that we can look at. Now at the moment we've made this look far too friendly and inviting. Now we're going to be able to change that as we go along. Basically, you could just if you change the shape of the eye, you could change quite a friendly smiling dragon into something quite sinister. Now the mouth curling up like that possibly doesn't help the situation. You see, by just taking out that curl, we've already changed the actual basic look of this dragon. And if we do a line going down, which is like a frown line on this dragon, you can see that we've made him look far more menacing already. Now this dragon's going to have rather large teeth. But what we're going to do, we're also going to put some that will go up, like so. So you'd see that would curve around like that, and these would quite possibly go like that. And really, with these types of drawings, you can really do pretty much whatever you want with a design. Because the fun part comes when you start adding the colour. Now, I would suggest you're going to start off with relatively light colours and build, because if you start with too darker colours, then you're kind of stuck, because it's easier to darken than it is to lighten. Now this dragon is going to have various large horns. Now you see what I mean by going out of the design box, the frame. You can get quite a pleasing effect by doing this. And really you're just having fun, because it's your design, and a dragon is a mythical creature, so you've got a certain amount of poetic license to do whatever you really want with it, because nobody can say that's not right. Unless you have to actually come across a dragon, and they will probably tell you exactly what they think of your picture if they're not happy with it. But I would imagine, to be honest with you, that eventuality is highly unlikely. Now, I think what we're going to do soon, we're going to start adding some of the colour so we can start to make some progress. Now, what I would tend to do, and I'm going to do, is you're going to start off really, I think, if you, with this dragon, is I tend to start with the eyes, because then you can work out from the eye. So we'll have the eye, and I think what we're going to do, you'll have to forgive my arm reaches across to the container with my brush pens in. We're going to start off with a yellow. Now, these pens are quite expensive, because they're a professional standard. I mean, I would imagine you could use felt tip pens. I don't know how pleasing the effect would be if you did, but I would imagine you can. Now, see, immediately see how vivid the colours are with these good quality brushes. And the secret is don't press too hard, because you want to retain the point on these brushes if you can. So we'll do add a bit of orange in the corners if we can, very lightly dabbing away at that to give that effect that we wanted. Now that's coming across relatively nicely. Now if we want to darken centre of the eye, now you can use the white of the paper in these sorts of drawings, which will help. You do have your opportunity to use white pens and white ink, but again, I mean, I will probably use, you'll probably notice that I will probably also use some coloured pencil on this, which I think I'm going to do now to go round the fate to blend in this just a fraction around this eye to give it hopefully a 3D effect. And that's looking like something. I mean, really, this is going to be sort of trial and error. I don't know how far we're going to get with this. We should just have to see. You have to bear in mind there are several people, several thousand, or probably several hundreds of thousands of people that are going to be doing this kind of work. And I do it predominantly for a range of cards that I do. And I do sell those at the craft markets that I do. I started doing these types of things really to buy materials for doing the main things that I do. And then one thing takes over another, and you think, oh, sometimes by accident you find something that works. And dragons are very popular with people. And I like dragons. And you can build up and build up the design on these. But like I said, if you start from the eye and work your way out to your design, I find it the easiest thing to do. I had a friend when I was at college, very clever, talented artist called Nigel Tomlinson. Unfortunately, he had a disease. I can't remember the full title, but basically the top and bottom was he had brittle bones, very severely brittle bones. But he was brilliant doing these types of drawing, pop art. And things like that, which was in the sort of mid-70s when that type of thing was very, very popular. In actual fact, the last time I saw Nigel, before I left, was on Farnham Station, and he'd been to a place near Farnham called I think it was called Bird World, and he showed me a half-drawn picture of a peacock, and I said to him, "Why didn't you finish it?" And he said, "Well, I ran out of donuts." And I said, "Donuts?" He said, "Yeah, I was feeding it donuts. And as soon as I ran out of donuts, it wandered off." So the said peacock never got finished. Well, I presume he probably finished it at home, but the actual live drawing never got finished. Now these are like sort of going to be like horns on this dragon. So what we want really, I think, for that is like a sort of an ivory type colour. Cream colour, which we've got here. I get my hands getting a bit congested. I think I'm going to put these pens down over there a minute. That's it. Let's try and get back in the centre of the frame. Because I really ought to be doing this sat at the desk with an easel. But I'm not doing that today. I'm sat in my armchair with some music on in the background which you can't hear. Because if I play it any louder, I get into trouble with the copyright. So we don't play it loud anymore. Now, we could use it, and you can see how deliciously these pens work. But like I said, they are a good quality. And I buy these from a good art shop. Most good art shops sell them. But like I said, they're about £4 or £5 a piece. So really, to be used sparingly. I mean, there are several different makes you can buy, and I think they probably do vary in price. I'm not going to go into advertising for people, so you can soon look up that. But I mean, basically, just want to search brush pens. Right then, let's have a look. We're going to put some pale green on here, I think, so we can build up this. But over the top of that eye there, and maybe just coming down into these pieces here. And maybe this here. Because like I said, you've got the option to alter this to some degree if you're using lighter colours as you go along. Now then, what we want to do, I think, we want to get, I think, some red into this somewhere, which would be nice. Now, that's what I meant by the other end. That's the shape of the other end. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Good. Which is okay if you're going to... I find for writing it's quite handy if you're going to write something on a poster or something. But that's the brush end. Now, they might, like this one has, sort of weep out a bit. So you want to be conscious of that when you open them, because otherwise it could splash over your work. Most of the time, you can, in fact, incorporate that into your design. Probably, that's what I've done in the past. I used to play drums with a few guys when I was at college. Up in Alton in Hampshire. And I had a friend there, and he used to say to me, if you make a mistake when you're playing, try and remember to make the mistake in exactly the same place the next time you play it. And everybody that hears you will think you're a bloody genius. Which, I don't know if that's true or not. Quite possibly. Well, it's certainly true that somebody told me that. But there There we are. Now, I don't know what's going on with this dragon here. I think we'll add a few more scales into the equation. Because these are not real ice scales, it's like armor plate, really. And these can overlap like you would do if you were doing roof tiles. And you could change the shape of them if you so wish. Blend them in. Make some of them circular if you want. Really, like I said on previous drawings, when I was doing the cartooning, you're doing this type of thing so it looks pleasing to your eye. Now, we've done most of the outline at the moment, like with pencil, which you can make quite dark. But I sometimes use fine line pencils and pens, and these you can get quite easily also from the art shop. And then you can add darker lines than you can get with a pencil, and quicker. Sadly, for doing a lot of this kind of work now, my eyesight isn't what it was, has to be said. And I'm struggling a bit to actually see the detail in this, so if I do tend to make a mistake or go outside the line, you will have to forgive me. But now, you see, we're getting an eye that's actually looking a little bit more like it should be. Now, if you do, like I've done here in several places, gone outside the line when you're actually sort of colouring in these lines, don't worry too much, because you can go over it with your faithful lining pen, and you can soon pull that estate or floor back from the brink. Now, I think if I'm going to do this picture, I might actually pause the film and make some progress and then come back to it, because otherwise we're not going to get the picture done. You see, don't worry, you'll still see the majority of what I'm going to do with this. So I'm going to pause the film at this point and make a bit more progress, and you're going to get the idea of what I'm sort of talking about, okay? Okay, we made a bit more progress. And we're getting something like it now. Now, these teeth we're going to make, really, we want an off yellow, really, because old dragon here hadn't been to a dentist for a while, so that's going to be just a fact of life. And I don't think they get treatment on the NHS anyway, so that's what we're going to do here. Now, these teeth are very sharp, and lethal, because what you've got to bear in mind, they can bite through a suit of armour, which, given half a chance, they will. Now, see, this is what I meant when I was saying earlier on. You can blend these pens in to add to things you've already done. So you can shade. But of course, if you're going to do that, it takes a while to do, but you could do some wonderful things. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do part 1 and 2 on this, because we just did about part 1. Let's stop, and I'll be back with part 2.